Hey guys, Tom Shue here, and today we're going to be doing another Photoshop for Lightroom user tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to make selections independent of each other. Say, for example, we want to manipulate maybe the skin tone and the background colors independently. In Lightroom, it's real difficult to do that. Say, if I wanted to make the skin a little bit brighter, a little bit darker without affecting the background, or if I wanted to make the background more vibrant without affecting the skin tones. It's really hard to do that because there's no masking and there's no way to make a specific selection in Lightroom. This is where the power of Photoshop comes in, because you can put everything on its own layer and control it independently, and you can make a selection independently. Let me show you what a selection is. If we grab this rectangular marquee tool, we can make a selection, this box right here for example, and this little dotted lines are called the marching ants. If we come over here and say exposure, and we drop the exposure down, only what's inside that box, that selection, is being affected. Okay, let's back off that. Let's Control Z to undo. Now we've got our selection. We can also invert this selection. We can go Select, Inverse, or Control Shift I, Command Shift I on a Mac. And now if we do that same thing with our exposure, everything but the box is affected. So we basically flipped the selection. We inverted it. Let's Control Z to undo that. And let's hit Control D or Command D on the Mac to deselect. There's lots of ways to make selections. You can come in and draw a selection with the lasso tool. And there's polygonal lassos. I can come in here and click a selection. Okay, and I close it. Okay. You can also use this like quick selection tool. If you left click your mouse and drag, whatever's inside that box is selected. The problem with selections is there's an edge area where it transitions between the selected area and the unselected area. So if I come over here and grab the exposure and I wanted to darken the sky some, you can see that that area inside the hair, it wasn't selected. That area behind her dress wasn't selected. So it just looks terrible. It's kind of stair-stepped against the body. You can see the stair-stepped lines, the jaggy lines. So it's not really a great way to make a selection when you're working on this kind of image. Let's undo. Let's get rid of that adjustment. Inside Photoshop CC, they revamped a set of tools, and those tools are in the Select menu. It's called Color Range. This whole menu has really been reworked nicely in CC. If you use this drop down menu, you can select by colors. You could select by highlights or shadows. Say if I selected the highlights, I can invert that just like we did with the box. So I'm not affecting the highlights, I'm affecting the opposite of the highlights. But what's really powerful is this new skin tones option. See this detect faces? It detects the face, and then it lets you use this fuzziness slider to like adjust the fall off of what's being selected. So we're going to make a selection here. Okay, and you can invert the selection, means that everything but the skin tones is being selected. So I'm going to bring this up just a little bit here. We're going to click OK. Now we've got this selection of the skin. And what I want to do is I want to save this selection so I can use it as many times as I want on my image. So I'm going to go Selection, Save Selection, and we're going to call this Skin. Alright. Now I can get rid of that by hitting the D key, the deselect, and I can call that back up at any time I want by going Selection, Load Selection, and we'll click on the skin. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do an adjustment and say I want to add some vibrance into the image. Okay, you can see that I'm adding vibrance, but the skin is not being affected at all. If I want to look at what's being affected, if I click on that layer mask, I click the backslash key, and you can see that I've got this beautiful selection. The skin and the hair and all of that information is not being affected because I've made this wonderful selection. it would take a long time to refine the edge if you did it any other way to build this beautiful mask. Okay, hit the backslash key. So now say for example I wanted to affect the skin tones. Maybe I wanted to lighten it up some. Okay, I'm going to go to selection, load selection, and I'm going to invert it this time. We're going to click OK, and we're going to grab maybe the curves tool, and now I can adjust the skin tone. Do you see how, just for the sake of the tutorial, do you see how it's not affecting in the blue and there's no stair stepping going on? So I can choose if I want the highlights in the skin to be a little bit brighter, but overall I want to lighten her skin. Okay, so let's zoom back out a little bit and see exactly how much I want to lighten it. Okay, and if we go over here and we hit the backslash key here, you can see that is the selection. Now if I don't want it to be affected onto the hair, it's real simple. I can click on my mask and grab my paintbrush tool. Okay, and I need to be painting in black, and I can come in and I can actually just remove what I don't want to be selected. You see that? It's real simple. You can manipulate your mask at any time that you want. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit, and I can add information. Say maybe I don't want anything on this eyes. Okay, and now when I undo the selection, you can see that only the areas that I chose are being affected. So that's it. Selections with the color range tool is very powerful inside Photoshop CC, and the price they have now for the $9.99 special for Photoshop and Lightroom for photographers, it's really a good option to be looking at. I kind of withheld moving to the cloud altogether because I already owned CS6, but these tools are pretty powerful inside CC, and I don't want to get left behind because I teach this stuff and I want you guys to see what's going on. I want to thank you all for taking time to visit today. Until next time, we'll see you soon.